Did you know that in ancient Egypt, cats were more than mere companions? They were seen as living symbols of the divine. Picture the bustling streets of Thebes, where sleek, graceful felines prowled silently, their glowing amber eyes reflecting the firelight from flickering torches. Their smooth, sleek fur caught the golden hue of the desert sun, and with every step, they moved like shadows of the gods themselves. The Egyptians, mesmerized by their elegance, believed these mysterious creatures were manifestations of Bastet, the goddess with a lioness's head and a mother's heart. "Look, there goes one," a child would whisper, pointing to a cat as it padded past, its soft paws making no sound. "Bastet watches us through their eyes," the mother would say, her tone filled with reverence. Bastet was not only the guardian of the home, but a fierce protector, and cats were her sacred emissaries. Their sharp senses, especially their ability to hunt in the dark, mirrored her vigilance. So sacred were they that harming a cat could bring the wrath of the gods upon you, an offense punishable by death. In the cool night air, as cats slinked through the shadows, their presence reminded all that the divine was never far away. It all began with Bastet, the radiant daughter of Ra, the sun god who ruled the heavens with his burning gaze. Bastet was unlike the other deities. In her lioness form, she embodied fierce strength, her golden fur gleaming like the sun itself, her sharp eyes ever watchful. Yet when she took the form of a sleek domestic cat, her power softened into a protective grace, her lithe body moving with quiet elegance through the homes of her people. She was both a mother and a warrior, gentle yet deadly when her loved ones were threatened. In the warm glow of flickering oil lamps, Egyptian mothers whispered, "May Bastet watch over us tonight?" Their voices were low and reverent as they tucked their children into bed, the scent of frankincense curling through the air. The belief was strong. Bastet, with her feline eyes that seemed to see into the darkness, would protect them from the lurking shadows. She was the guardian of the hearth, just as a cat guarded its home, poised and alert, ready to strike at any evil spirit that dared approach. Outside, under the soft glow of the crescent moon, the night was quiet. The distant Nile's gentle flow could be heard, but the people of Egypt slept soundly, trusting in the silent, watchful presence of their beloved Bastet. As the protector of hearth and home, Bastet's sacred cats were not mere symbols. They were vigilant guardians, moving with a grace that echoed their divine origin. In the warm, flickering glow of Egyptian lamps, these creatures roamed the homes, temples, and granaries, their sleek bodies gliding silently through shadowed corridors. Their fur, shining like polished onyx, rippled with each step as they hunted the rats and serpents that threatened to spoil the grain and spread sickness. Every movement was a whisper of the goddess herself. In the bustling streets of Thebes and Memphis, merchants and villagers would pause as a cat slinked through narrow alleys, its amber eyes catching the fading light of dusk, glowing like embers. The air was thick with the scent of incense, and the soft murmurs of prayer floated from temple doors. "The goddess walks with us," an old woman whispered, watching a cat disappear into the shadows. She clutched her amulet of Bastet, her heart steady with the knowledge that these divine creatures guarded their every step. Eyes followed the cat's, for their presence was a reminder that Bastet's spirit moved among them, ever watchful, ever protective. Within the towering walls of Egypt's sacred temples, where the air was thick with the scent of incense and the glow of flickering oil lamps, cats roamed as living embodiments of the goddess Bastet. Their sleek fur shimmered in the golden light, their movements silent yet commanding, as priests in white linen robes bowed low in reverence. The Temple of Bastet in Bubastis, a grand city bathed in sunlight, was a sanctuary for these sacred felines. "Beware, do not anger the goddess," the priests whispered, their voices barely louder than the breeze that rustled through the palm trees. "Her wrath is swift as the lion's strike." During the festival of Bastet, the temple courtyards came alive with music, drums beating in rhythm with the people's hearts, and the soft notes of flutes filling the air. The crowd, their robes billowing in the desert wind, swayed in unison as they celebrated Bastet's dual nature, gentle as a mother cradling her child, yet fierce as the huntress striking her prey. "She who brings joy and protection," the people chanted, their eyes lifted toward the sky. Tributes of fragrant oils, woven flowers, and bowls of fresh food were laid at the goddess's feet. the scent of jasmine and lotus blossoms mingling with the air. The bond between the Egyptians and their cats was woven deep into the fabric of their lives, so much so that even in death, they honored their feline companions with reverence. When a cherished cat passed, grief swept through the household like a desert wind. Family members would shave their eyebrows, the smooth skin above their eyes a visible mark of their sorrow. Their faces, once calm, now bore the weight of loss, eyes red from silent tears. In the flickering light of oil lamps, the room held a quiet stillness as they prepared to say their final farewell. The cat's body, sleek and regal even in death, was tenderly wrapped in fine linen. Each fold of the fabric was placed with care, as if the spirit of Bastet herself was watching over the ceremony. The scent of incense hung heavy in the air, its sweet, smoky tendrils rising like prayers to the heavens. The family gathered around the small tomb, their faces etched with solemnity. "Rest well, protector," the father whispered, his voice thick with emotion. His hands lingered on the linen-wrapped form, as if hoping to feel the warmth of life just once more. With a final breath, they placed the cat in its sacred tomb, believing that the goddess Bastet would guide it safely into the afterlife, where it would watch over them from beyond. The reverence for cats in Egypt ran deeper than mere affection. It wove itself into the very fabric of law and culture. In 525 BCE, when the Persian army, led by the cunning Cambyses VI, laid siege to the city of Pelusium, they knew precisely how to exploit sacred devotion to cats. The dusty battlefield stretched wide under a blazing sun, with the faint scent of the desert mingling with the tension in the air. Persian soldiers, faces stern and determined, marched forward, their shields gleaming in the light. But what adorned those shields sent a shiver through the Egyptian ranks. Painted images of the goddess Bastet, her fierce feline eyes seeming to watch over the enemy. As the battle drums beat, Cambyses gave a signal. Persian soldiers released live cats onto the battlefield, their soft paws padding silently across the sand. The Egyptian warriors, tall and strong in their bronze armor, gripped their spears, hearts pounding. But they froze, eyes wide with terror. "We cannot harm them," one soldier whispered, fear twisting his face. To strike would anger Bastet herself. The scene was surreal, an army paralyzed, not by force of arms, but by the sacred creatures they had sworn to protect. The city fell, not to sword or spear, but to the divine influence of their beloved goddess, carried in the form of the creatures they cherished most. In ancient Egypt, the sacred status of cats ran deeper than mere superstition. It was entwined with the very essence of their society, religion, and daily life. These graceful creatures were revered not only as protectors, but as living embodiments of divine power. The Egyptians, clad in flowing linen robes, moved through the sun-drenched streets of bustling cities, their dark eyes catching the sight of a cat weaving between temple columns, its sleek form gliding with an otherworldly elegance. "Look closely," the priests would whisper, their voices hushed with reverence. "Bastet watches through their eyes." The cats, with their smooth, muscular bodies, shimmering fur, and eyes like polished amber, prowled with silent confidence, each step a reminder of their divine connection. In every subtle flick of a cat's tail or the slow blink of its mysterious eyes, the Egyptians saw Bastet herself, guardian of the home, goddess of protection. To them, these creatures were not mere animals, but sacred bridges between the mortal world and the realm of the gods. Each cat was a living link to the unseen, moving quietly among the towering sandstone monuments and whispering winds of the eternal desert. Even now, the legacy of Egypt's sacred cats lingers like whispers on the desert wind. Their sleek forms, immortalized in the cold, polished stone of statues and etched with care into the timeless hieroglyphs of crumbling temples, remind us of a civilization that once worshipped these creatures as divine. The land of the Nile has faded into the sands of time, but the sacred bond between Egyptians and their feline protectors still echoes through the ages. Imagine the golden light of Ra streaming through the grand pillars of a temple, casting long shadows across the ancient stone. In the quiet corners, the statues of Bastet stand tall, her feline face fierce yet nurturing, eyes forever fixed on the horizon. Cats, with their graceful movements, were once more than animals. They were protectors, wise and mystical, believed to carry the presence of the goddess herself. As you see a cat today, stretching lazily in the warmth of the sun, remember that it holds a connection to a world long past. Perhaps in the glint of its eyes, the spirit of Bastet still watches, unseen but ever vigilant, guarding the peace and harmony she once brought to her people.